What is going on, everyone? Happy Sunday, happy Mother's Day. Today, we're coming back with you with a late edition of Sunday Talk. It's going to be Jose and I today. We're just going to get started with some questions, courtesy of Chase and Court Dumars. Only one sending in questions this week, but it's all good. We're expecting more questions next week, but we'll get started. Chase's only question. He asked, do you think it's the end of Kentucky, North Carolina for college basketball, with North Carolina getting a new head coach and Kentucky having a horrible season? Is it the end for them? So, Jose, I'll pass it off to you first, and then you hand it back if you got anything else to say.
I think it's an end to their dominance of the past couple of years, but I don't think it's the end of them as a program overall. I think they're still going to be a pretty good program. Obviously, they've got the name value. They're going to attract top prospects. As far as the new head coach for North Carolina, I mean, programs get new head coaches all the time. Kentucky, I would not be surprised if they get a new head coach soon after this season. But no, I do not think it's the end. It could be like we were talking about earlier, we see smaller schools become more powerhouse type schools. Obviously we've seen Northwestern become a really good program in the NFL. So schools come and go. It's just the nature of the sport.
Yeah, and I feel like it's like teams like look at the early 2000s and make a college football example out here. We saw teams like USC and also University of Miami were very dominant during that time, and then they kind of regressed, but they still had their name value. They're still going to get those 5 stars every once in a while. So I don't think Kentucky's still going to be it's like Kansas has kind of fallen off the map ever since Andrew Wiggins and Joel Embiid were there. So I think at this point they might
And
not be the most dominant people, but yeah. So we'll move on. Court, we're gonna fire away with some questions from Court Dumars here. Thank you for the question. So he asked us, what's your way too early college football top five? And I went through and I looked at some teams, and I think I got a pretty square way. Not in any particular order, but this is what my top four would be. I'd have Alabama. I'd have Oklahoma, with Spencer Rattler out there. Georgia with DJ. I think they're going to be pretty solid. And I think, Georgia's got a pretty good shot this year. They got JT Daniels as they might be able to get the transfer tight end from LSU. So Eric Gilbert. So I see some good potential out of them. And I think Ohio State could squeeze in there, just because they're such a dominant program anyway. They have all the returning wide receivers, their top two guys returning back. And they still got some solid pieces they always do on defense every year. But yeah, that's who I'd say is my top five. Jose, who do you have?
yeah, I mean, I don't follow too much college football. Obviously, I do follow some of the top teams, but yeah, Oklahoma's going to be up there for sure. Alabama's going to be up there, as they always are. Clemson, I feel like, is going to take a dip. Obviously, they don't have Trevor Lawrence anymore. We saw how they were without him last season. Ohio State's always up there. I would not be surprised if Oregon takes a huge leap. Obviously, we were like not that great last season, but we've got a new guy coming in, Ty Thompson. Heard a lot of good things about him. We still got Thibodeau. We still got Flo. We still got Noah Sewell. So I feel a good season coming for Oregon.
I definitely can agree on that. I mean, your defensive talent's crazy. Thibodeau's a guy that's projected number one overall at this point in a lot of mock drafts by professional guys. So, next, Court asked us who's our NBA sleeper team, and this is the one that I think which changed a lot. We've been asked about this on the show before. Who's a team you wouldn't want to face in the first round? Like Knicks have been a one we've talked about, the Mavericks, but a team that I'm really looking at, I think it's a sleeper only because they lost Jamal Murray, is the Denver Nuggets. I think you got to look at the numbers. I was looking at some shooting splits from Michael Porter Jr. This guy is ridiculous. He's shooting like 45% from three since the All-Star break, averaging about 22 points a game. I think, it's going to be hard for a team to guard a guy that's 6'10" that can just shoot like that. And then they have the MVP playing alongside him. I think it's a team that has a lot more depth than we thought. But having Jamal Murray not out there is going to make teams downplay them. But I think it's going to be a team, they give the ball to Michael Porter Jr. to close out in the clutch. And I think he's a guy that has potential to do that. So, Jose, who do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've seen Michael Porter really step up, kind of almost filling that Jamal role. But I mean, we talked about it on the pod the other day. The Wizards are just a super red hot team, and I do not want to face them if I'm in the play-in game, because it's guys that have been there before, guys that have done it. I mean, we've seen Beal be a game away from the conference finals. We've seen obviously Russell go to the finals. So if they're facing an injury-riddled Lakers, watch out. I mean, not Lakers.
Nets.
Nets or something. Anyone at the bottom of the East, the Hornets or something. Yeah.
They got a good shot. Yeah. So move on to the next question. Will AJ Brown be a top five wide receiver this season? I think it's a popular question given that he's going to have so many targets to him. They lost Johnu Smith, they lost Corey Davis, who were basically 2 and 3 in terms of reception for this team next year. So Jose, I'll delegate to you. Do you think he's going to be a top five wide receiver?
He definitely has potential to be. I don't know if he will be. The key is going to be how they're able to get their play action going. Obviously, their team runs through their run game. Their O line took a look. I think that they improved it a little bit, but it's not. It's still not amazing. But they're still going to be able to run the ball. Obviously, they're gonna give it to AJ Brown outside. But I can see him in the top five. I don't know if he really will be though. I got five guys that I'll take before him, definitely in the draft.
Yeah, I think the thing is, is he gonna be able to get open because he's gonna get like a safety over top of him every single time he plays. And I mean, but he's only gotten 200 targets, I think, to this point in his career, and he's gone over 2,000 yards combined in that point. And if you look at someone like Julio Jones in his best season, had about 180 targets. He had about 200 targets and he only went 1,800 yards. So I think this kid's special. He's a physical guy at the catch point. He's a guy that can get a lot of yards after catch. If you watch his film, you think, okay, he's about to go down here, but he just plows through just like his teammate Derrick Henry. I think, just like I mentioned, it's about if he can get open and if he can he's not getting guarded by two guys at a time. Because who else are going to throw to? Anthony Fersker, Josh Reynolds. There's a lot of no-name guys on that team. I mean, Anthony Fersker did have some good games last season, but I think, yeah, like you said, he has the potential to more than anyone else. He's got the most wide open target share in the league. So we'll leave it at that. So then our last question, NFL, NBA draft is coming up soon, which we'll also have to address on soon. So Court asked us, the two Jalen's, obviously Jalen Suggs is the name that's been very popular for Gonzaga, was a star for them this year. But a guy who's been under the radar because he was on the Ignite G League team, Jalen Green as well. So he's asking us, would you rather have Jalen Green or Jalen Suggs? And I think until we see the success of these G League guys coming out, I'm at the role of Suggs. Suggs is the guy that's played against competition, in the NCAA tournament. He's also gone against some other teams out of conference play. So I'll roll with Suggs right now. But Jose, what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, same. I'm taking Jalen Suggs just for the simple fact that he led this Gonzaga team to the championship game, obviously beating UCLA with the crazy buzzer beater, ultimately losing the championship, but definitely, was taking that Gonzaga team to the top of the tournament, when they don't play in the best of conferences. Jalen Green, a guy I haven't seen a lot of. Obviously, he's a local guy playing in the G Leagues, averaging 18 points per game, solid season. But just from what I've seen of Suggs, I feel like this guy's definitely the real deal and has the potential to take the reins of an NBA team, pretty early on.
Yeah. So we'll see if all that. I mean, there's a lot of guys. We don't know a definitive number one. We think it's probably going to be Cade Cunningham at this point, but we don't know how the draft lottery is going to turn out because, especially in the NBA, you don't know what the order of the draft is going to be until closer to draft time. So we'll start looking at that soon. But without further ado, we're basically going to conclude this episode today. We'll get some more content coming for you later this week. But without further ado, this is Coast to Coast Podcast. We're signing out. Peace.